Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, get nerdy,
And get
nurtured.
Well, welcome back, you guys. Here we are again. This is episode 2 of the Nurtured Nerd Podcast. Thanks for coming. And I am Mary Sorensen, and I'm in Salt Lake. I am a cuddle party facilitator and a professional cuddler. I've been doing that for 5 or 6 years now. When I can fit it in around my day job. And yeah, it's been really fun doing these things and trying to build this Nurtured Nerds community. And I'm here with Alyssa as my co-host. Alyssa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Alyssa, aka the IRL support main, website soon to come. And I have been practicing, I started at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, and I took a break for health reasons and then got back into it in October 2019. And I was just starting to build things up before the pandemic hit. I'm sure that's very relatable for many of my fellow practitioners.
Definitely. Yeah.
And surprisingly, I found that my professional life, my career, if you will, has grown more than I would have expected in this pandemic. It's just been an opportunity really to get super creative with our offerings, and that's been really fun to explore. So yeah, right now I'm offering virtual sessions, soon to be offering in person with safety protocols, and yeah, hopefully we'll be getting vaccinated soon. That will also help with the safety. And personally, I'm planning to start with seeing only one person a week. I think that helps, like limiting the number of clients. And yeah, I've just been really there's all these things I want to do, right, with my space. I'm finally having my own living space and my own space that I can set up however I want. And I have all these things I want to do, and I've been having to learn patience, and just being just reminding myself to be really grateful for what I do have, and just having this chance to savor it, because it's well, in that future when I have all these other things I want, the things I have now might not seem as important, and I might not have that chance and that permission to really savor what's happening in my life right now.
I love that.
So yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Good.
And nurtured nerds.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to always appreciate where we are right now. There is a lot to appreciate. We've been learning new skills about how to connect with people at home and how to step back and maybe do some of those things that we can't do when we are actively in the business, right?
Yeah.
So
something I've been getting present to is how much abundance is available just around me all the time for me to give to myself, that I have that power, and that really I've just, through the conditionings and things I've learned throughout my life, I've been disconnected from that. I've lost that knowing, that wisdom of that I can give these things to myself, that they're available. I've been so conditioned into scarcity and not trusting myself, not trusting my inner voice and my inner knowing. So I've been just starting to get back in touch with that. What about you, Mary? You said earlier before we started that you're retiring soon. That's exciting.
Yes, I'm trying to work it out to retire before summer. What it is I have to buy out my last 5 years of service credit, because I'll have 25 years in the Utah retirement system, and then they let you buy out 5 years to get 30. So when you have 30, you can retire at any age. And yeah, I'm excited. So I just got to make sure I get the money to make that happen so I have enough to buy it out. But I'm working on it, and it looks really good. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, and then full-time cuddling, right?
Yeah, that's probably part-time cuddling and part-time everything else, right?
Oh yeah, what a gift though to have that time and space to give to everything else in your life.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to do more cuddling than I do now, more cuddle work. I usually call it my cuddle stuff. It's all cuddle
Cuddle
stuff.
stuff.
Yep. All the
Makes me
cuddle
think
stuff.
of like a plushie and you're just slowly like adding filling into it. And you're like, now it's ready. It's a
It's okay.
stuffy.
That works.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Speaking of, you brought some friends, didn't you?
I
Some
did.
stuffies.
I did. These are some of my friends. My little.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yep. If you don't have people to hug, sometimes these are good to have around.
Well, on the next podcast, I want to bring a couple of mine and show everyone. Hmm.
Yep. Those are some of my favorites.
So something funny happened just today.
Oh yeah.
There's this podcast that I've been listening to. It's a Christian podcast. I'm a Christian. Like, no more about that, but like just prefacing, like it's called the Brant and Sherry Oddcast, and they just riff
Wait. I'm
on
sorry. I didn't
funny
quite get
things.
that. Can we say it
Yeah.
one more time?
Oh, it's called the Brant and Sherry Oddcast.
Oh, okay. That's their names. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and
Cool.
they were joking about like, oh, and another thing to preface this is like I am 3.5 years behind. And so this 2017, and they were talking about how they were talking about the solar eclipse and how oh, what is that artist's name from the 70s or sorry 80s? Bonnie Tyler. They're saying like she was making a comeback. She was having a concert because like she has that song Total Eclipse of the Heart. So I was
Right.
like making a comeback because of the eclipse. And
Mhm.
then just before we got on here, I was catching up on some Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Spellman on Netflix. And I just happened to be on, and I didn't even get to watch the whole episode. It was just, I happened to be on the episode where that song played in the episode. And I'm like, really? Wow, what a coincidence. So it's just funny how
Cool.
life happens like that sometimes.
Yeah.
You have anything funny like that happening to you in your life?
I had an interesting conversation that started with my steps are icy, be careful walking down, because that's how I broke my wrist. And then we ended up talking about, like, we went through a whole series of things. And what did we end up talking about? It was weird because I was like, how did we get to this from like icy steps? Oh man, now I can't remember what it was. I knew it when I started this story. It was funny. Just take my word for it. I guess you had to be there. But just realizing like how your brain like puts things together and you go from one thing to this to this. And it's like, wait, now we're talking about mushrooms in the supermarket. I mean, what? I don't know.
Oh, just
Maybe,
sort of like
maybe
the evolution of conversations and things.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like even with our own internal conversations.
yeah.
I notice that happens to me a lot. Like I'll set out with a certain intention in the day or with this chunk of time, and by the end of it, I'm like in a totally different place than what I thought where I thought I would be. Just
Totally.
because my brain makes these associations and I'm like, oh, I should look this up. Because there's all these things like going on in my head all the time, all these ideas of like, ooh, I could explore that more or this more. And then just like my brain has these weird ways of like tying it together, like, ooh, this could fit into this part of your life. And it just ends up being this really crazy, like mishmash of like,
Yeah, totally. I'm glad it's not just me. I thought that was weird today. I was like, wait a minute, this is a really weird one. Now I can't remember where we got to though. Anyway, there's your funny story. Mary couldn't tell a story on the podcast.
that's the funny story is when you
There
try to
you
tell a funny story and it runs away from you.
go. Yeah. Yeah,
Like, no, I'm gonna hide a little longer. Maybe it'll come back.
maybe. Well, I think you should tell us what tea you're drinking today, Alyssa, because you've got some awesome tea
Yes.
collection.
So this week is Celestial Seasonings again, Nutcracker Sweet. It's a
Ah,
black tea with it's one of their holiday teas also. It's a
mhm.
black tea and it has like vanilla and cinnamon and some other
Mm,
like holiday spice type flavoring in it and it's really yummy. I'm
nice.
one of those people that likes to keep the Christmas season alive all year around, just a little bit. I mean, I don't have decorations up or anything because like I feel like it makes it less special if you try to have everything all the time. There's not like this is the time for me to enjoy these things, you know, if it's around all the time, it just becomes normal and not as magical and special. So my tea is like my little way of like keeping it alive because I have it every day. So
That's great.
yeah.
And that's your current favorite Nutcracker sweet? Or the one for today anyway?
Yeah. I mean, I have so many, but yeah, that's the one I picked for today, and that's the one I'm having today.
Yeah. I'm afraid I'm not very exciting. I've got water. That's what I'm drinking today. I drink lots of
Water
water.
is so important.
Yep.
This is how I see, this is how I get my water because I'm like, I won't drink if I just have water.
Mm-hmm.
My brain
Yeah.
won't engage with it. This
Yes.
like has this, like scent and warmth and like this I get to drink it and make it be like a meditative thing kind of or like a grounding practice and
I love that.
yeah.
Definitely.
It's hard for me a lot of times to give self-care to myself or just
Mm.
like give myself permission to take time of like this doesn't have any practical purpose in my life other than just that I enjoy it. I have a hard time giving myself permission like that. And so this is one of those things that like I've been able to hold on to relatively consistently.
That's cool. Yeah, that's important to give yourself permission to say, I can do this just because I like it.
Yeah.
I used to have to tell my mom that all the time. Like she liked certain foods that none of the rest of us liked, and she would buy like a little salsa or something. We'd be like, Mom, ew, that's gross. And so she stopped buying it. I was like, Mom, why don't you buy that salsa you like? She's like, nobody likes it but me.
Oh.
You're a person. You're allowed to have the salsa that you like. I mean, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So I'm glad that you're able to do that with the tea and bring and have something for yourself. That's really important to do.
I feel like everyone should
Good job.
have something like that in their
Yeah,
life that they enjoy and there's no other reason to have it that's besides the enjoyment.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I fully agree. Very cool.
yeah. So today we have our lovely guest Grace, a fellow practitioner. Hi Grace.
Hi,
Thank you
Grace.
so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. You bet.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and
Well, sure. I live here in Orange County. I've in California, I should say Orange County, California. I've been a life coach since 2009, and I added Platonic Touch to my tool belt in 2018. Let's see. I'm a proud auntie. I love music. I enjoy traveling, and my fun fact is that I have circumnavigated the globe.
wow.
I had the opportunity when I was in college to travel around the world on a floating campus. I am the really fun thing, not. I'm currently in the midst of a forced home remodel due to some water damage.
Mm.
So that's my daily.
I'm sorry.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And grateful to have a home.
Mm.
You know, people have asked me what, you know, cuddling, what is that, blah, blah. So recently, a friend asked on her Facebook page, if you had to describe what you do to a 5-year-old, what would you say? So this is what I wrote. You know how when you're sad, it feels really good to, if mommy or daddy holds you and you can cry or have some quiet time? Well, some adults don't have somebody to hold them. So I will give them a hug and let them cry or have quiet time and help them to feel better.
Nice.
So
I love that.
that's what I do.
It's so perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know like why isn't that a good enough explanation for anybody? Like
Yeah.
I want that to just be like what I say I do on my profile, you know? Or
Yeah.
on my business card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. You know, sometimes when I tell people and they're like, oh, cuddling, how can that be without sex? I'm like, well, think about what happens like when you're reading a child a book. You're cuddling. That's what
Yeah.
cuddling is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love your definition, Grace. That's great.
Oh, thank you. I was kind of proud of that, actually.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
You know, just breaks it down. And when, you know, another thing that I have often said to people when they, you know, when I get a similar reaction, Mary, like, oh, cuddling, how can that be?
Wink,
Like,
wink, not nudge, right?
right. And,
Yeah.
or like the lifted eyebrow. I can't,
Oh, yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
that, my, like I would say, you know how everybody knows how babies will die if they don't have touch.
Yes.
Babies need physical touch. They need skin time with mom. They need skin time with dad. They need skin time they need cuddling in order to flourish. And we don't stop needing that as
Right.
we grow up. We're still big babies.
We need co-regulation with our
We
nervous
need
system.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So,
need that.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I like to tell people like, yeah, you can live on 4 hours of sleep a night and you can live on junk food, but is that your best life?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're not going to feel the most well, best, healthiest person unless you have good sleep, good food, and good connection with other people.
Survive versus thrive.
Right.
Do
Exactly.
you want to just
Yes.
survive or do you want to thrive? I know I want to thrive.
I want to thrive for sure.
And our bodies are really good at like protecting us so we can survive. And so like that's
Mhm.
another thing I've been working on is having compassion for those parts of myself that
Mhm.
like this doesn't work, but it came from a place of my body wanting to protect me and keep me alive. So it's like, you
Mhm.
know, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, body. Like, wow, you're really strong and you're really doing your best for me. You know, you
Mm.
like even if it's almost like, you know, you have a little kid and they like want to make mommy breakfast and they go in the kitchen and make a mess and they bring you like some monstrosity and you're like, "Aw, like you love me and you wanted to help me." You know,
Right.
I've been trying
So
to look at
let's
my
figure
body
out
that way.
a better way though. But
Yeah.
thank you. Let's do
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
There's something about doing the best we can with
Yeah.
the
True.
resources that we have, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely.
That's one of
And
the things that,
acknowledging that. So I love it.
right. And I'm
Yeah.
excited about this podcast because we're trying, just wanting to provide more resources for folks, so that they can, like, the more resources we have, the different, better experiences and decisions we can make, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
We want to create opportunities and like empower them to create opportunities for themselves. And then also to have tools to use when those opportunities come up so they can
Right.
actually take advantage of them. Because I know for me, like that's something I really struggled with social anxiety and still do, of like letting opportunities pass when they come up because I either don't recognize it or I'm like just too anxious to speak up about it and like actually try to make something happen.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Grace, what brought you to cuddle work? What got you interested? I mean, what drew you in?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. Back so I'm going to have to bring the room down for a second. Back in 2015, my mom died, and then 10 weeks later, my dad died,
Oh.
and I was hit pretty hard with grief and depression, you know. And then about 9 months later, my long-term relationship ended. And so then that was another hit.
Yeah.
And so sometime in 2017, I saw this video, this BuzzFeed video on Facebook when I was, scrolling Facebook because I didn't have any energy to do anything else. And it was about cuddling, like these people are going to see a professional cuddler for the first time, and I'm like, professional cuddler, like I could do that. I could do
Cool.
that.
Mm.
And so, but I didn't really do anything about it. But I did tell a friend, hey, look at this professional cuddling thing. This is really interesting. And he was like, oh, ew, I could never do that. I'm like, well, did I ask you? No. So then a year went by. Nothing came of anything at the time. Maybe a year went by, and he called me up and he said, I went to this thing. You might be kind of into it. It's called a Cuddle group. And I'm like, oh, dude, that's my thing. You stole my thing. And so then that encouraged me to go to a Cuddle group. And it was Cuddle Sanctuary in Venice, California, which is about a mile from my house, but
Wow.
or not, no, I'm totally lying. An hour. It's an hour.
Oh, an hour.
It's not a mile. It's
What a difference.
Yeah, right. Especially in Southern California.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'll schlep myself up to Venice. And and I was in a good mood for a week and a half.
Awesome.
A week and a half after being in grief and depression for 2.5 years. That's when I knew this is significant.
Definitely.
This is significant work. And this is what I had been missing. So I began going to Cuddle Sanctuary on a regular basis. And I saw a professional cuddler one-on-one. And I decided that it was definitely a tool that I wanted to add to my professional tool belt. And
wonderful.
I find myself just so grateful, So.
And you were a life coach before, though, right? Did I hear that right?
Yes.
So yeah. So have you integrated that to your coaching now, or how does that work for you?
Well, I was going to be real smart alecky, but I'm going to change my mind. I find that it works really well. If people come to a place where they're willing to try, like usually coaching isn't something that you're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to try that. But you come to a place where there's a stuckness and you need to move through and you need support in order to do that.
Right.
I find that that's true with cuddling as well. Like you get to a point where you just can't do it anymore and you need some help, or you can no longer be without touch. And so you need some help to get through that. And so I feel like coaching and cuddling really do dovetail pretty well.
That's great.
I have a tendency to coach my cuddling clients, and I'm always happy to cuddle my coaching clients.
Yeah, I've known a lot of practitioners who come to cuddling from other modalities of this wellness idea of like getting us to our best self and getting through. And I like to say it's about having all the tools in your toolbox for what your client needs. So I always advocate that of like I want to learn all the ways so that whatever they need, I can hopefully provide it or point them to someone else who can provide it.
Yeah, well, in 2009, I graduated from Coaches Training Institute. And then in 2014, I became a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. And I also got some hypnotherapy training.
Okay.
And then in 2017, I added the cuddling. So it's all, and it's all like in there,
Yeah, it's all integrated. We're showing our hands all in together, entwined, because it's a whole person, right?
Right, yes. And that's actually one of the things that I learned in the, like one of the first things that I learned in coaching school is that our life may be divided into segments, but if you coach one part, you're coaching the whole being. So I may be coaching you in business, but business or work we're gonna talk about that, but your personal stuff is gonna come up too. Your emotional stuff is gonna come up too. We are whole entities, and everything is connected to everything else.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why this work's been really great for me personally. I feel like it seeps into every area of my life and makes it all better. Or the healing like can permeate every part of me. And that like I got to help other people have that same thing. That same experience.
Yeah.
And with like having said that, like what's something, Grace, that you've noticed with a client in a session, like a shift that happened that was really yummy or like really powerful, that just because you were there together and like dropped all the other stuff in life, like you leave everything else at the door and you just get to be like in that space, in that openness, like does any story stand out to you, like this was a time when something really came up for somebody because of that?
Yes, actually, I had a client come to me and she came specifically for cuddling. And I knew that she and her fiance had recently split. And so she was dealing with some grief around that. But she came to me and we had our little check-in at the beginning. How are you doing? What's going on? And so I looked into her eyes and we were just sitting in chairs side by side, sort of facing each other. And she said, I said, how would you like to begin? And she opened her mouth to speak and just dissolved, like just immediately was in tears. And I just was there with her.
She knew she was safe in that moment. That was the shift.
Yeah. And so then I asked her, may I hold your hand? And she, yes. I held her hand and we just let the tears come and let that cry happen. And then when she was able to speak, she said, I really want to hug, but I don't want to stand up. Okay. I guided, let's go sit on the mats over here. And I guided her into a sidewinder hug. And I just held her and she cried some more. And then we shifted into a mama bear, papa bear. I was the mama bear and she was the baby bear. And she just, she relaxed into me. And it was, a little bit of talking, a little bit of not, a little bit of quiet, a little bit more crying, but just being able to be held and to know that she was safe. So that's when I like those kinds of experiences are when my heart explodes, knowing that I am serving my purpose.
Yeah, and I've had a similar type thing happen many times, even at my group events where I ask somebody, would you like a hug? And we hug and they just start crying because they're like, nobody's touched me or nobody's asked me what I wanted, like ever, that I can remember. And I'm like, that just breaks my heart. It's something that's so easy that should be accessible to us. It's as easy as the person standing next to you, but if you don't have a person standing next to you, then you don't have it.
Yeah.
And it's people are starving and the food is right there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's frustrating.
And we store our emotions and our pain in our bodies and just like try to forget about it, but it's still there. And then like when you get that touch that like activates that part of the body is like, oh, I'm being paid attention to right now. I have the floor. I can be seen and heard.
Yes.
And so stuff just comes out and like, because it's like finally safe to not have to keep that hidden anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Thank you for sharing that story, Grace. That was powerful.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Mhm. Mm. Let's see. Have you ever used laughter in your sessions?
Oh, you betcha. So I have been practicing laughter yoga for a while now, and
Mm.
laughter is so healing. So we all know that, or maybe not everyone listening knows, that oxytocin is a naturally occurring hormone that is called the feel-good hormone, or the love hormone. It connects and it boosts all kinds of things, you know, positivity, etc., into our bodies.
Right.
And
And
doesn't it
so
peak in mothers, like when they give birth? Doesn't oxytocin peak for them, or it like helps bonding?
I think that's where they've done a lot of research around mothers and babies. And now actually there's been research around fathers and babies with the oxytocin. So
Mm.
there's actual research proof with mothers. That's where they studied it the most, I think. So that it is definitely a lot higher with mothers and babies and with fathers and babies. I don't know that they've really studied it elsewhere. I'd be really interested to see if anybody has any studies to look at. But
as far
I
as
think,
oxytocin, I
yeah.
believe there's been I believe there's been studies around surrounding hugs or even just touch.
Okay.
I think there was that. I'm not going to speak about it because I don't know for sure. If I ever come back, I'll be more prepared with study information about.
That's okay. That's
Ask
okay.
me
But
about monkeys.
I think where you were going with it is that laughing also brings up oxytocin.
So
Is that
yes,
right?
laughter boosts oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
When they're placed into the right places in our brains, can create the psychobiology of joy.
Mm.
So that's sort of where laughter yoga comes from. And so particularly in virtual sessions and virtual groups, because it's harder to get the physical the benefit of oxytocin from the physical touch. That's why I incorporate laughter into my virtual groups and virtual sessions. Yeah.
Yeah, and I recently discovered it, and I've been doing virtual group events, workshops, and the laughter portion really helps us release and feel like we're with each other, and yeah, it gets the oxytocin flowing. Your body doesn't care what you're laughing at; it just knows you're laughing, and it makes you feel better.
Right. And one of the things that I also learned is that it's not just about it's not comedy, it's not laughing at, but it's laughing with.
Yeah.
And once we tap into the childlike wonder of laughing for no reason, that and like we're reconnecting with our childhood and with it's such a boost. It feels so good to just laugh for no reason.
Yes. In fact, I would throw out a challenge to anybody listening. If you want to pause this for 60 seconds and laugh and see what it feels like, I think you'll feel really good. Tell us how you feel, and you'll give us some comments later.
I love that. Well, I feel like we should just do it now.
Let's do it now. Should we laugh? You don't have to pause. Laugh with us. Yep. Awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, what is your favorite laughter yoga exercise? Because I've learned so many from you from your virtual events. And I bet there's many more that you haven't even shared with us that you've learned in your laughter yoga practice.
I don't know if I have a how could I choose? It's like choosing your favorite child.
Well, what about right in this moment when you look and you're like, which one is the one that stands out to me?
I love the exercises where we introduce two kinds of laughs and then go back and forth. So like the Queen of England and then the pirate, and then you just go back and forth. Sometimes you're the Queen of England, sometimes you're the pirate, and you just go back and forth between those two, or good witch, bad witch, or you know those.
One of the ones I like is the picking flowers. You like that you're in a field of flowers and each flower is a different laugh and you pick one and you smell it and that gives you that laugh and then you get to pick another one and take on that laugh and so you get to explore like how many different ways can my body laugh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know when I first started, I was just like cackling like a banshee, and I'm like, it doesn't have to be like a big loud cackle. And I did some research on the internet and found a really good link with a gal who did like 50 different laughs. And one of them I really liked was the silent laugh. And just to start with like,
We've done that one, yeah.
yeah, I did. And I liked it. It worked really well in the workshops. Yeah, it's kind of fun, especially when you can see each other. You see your face laughing, but you're not making noise, but your body is really expressing it. I thought that was really cool.
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Can you tell us how would you do a session with a client? Like when the client contacts you and what's your process? Because I'm sure some people want to know how that works.
Well, are you asking about my screening process or what's
the whole process, like
everything.
From how a client connects with you until you have the session, and then even like following up after sessions, like what does their relationship with you look like overall?
In the next 2 minutes.
Okay. Sure.
Go.
No pressure. So when I'm contacted by a virtual or by a
potential
potential, that's the word.
Yeah.
When I'm contacted by a potential client, first I do a phone call, just like 15-20 minutes, maybe a little longer, just to make sure that we're a good match, that we're on the same page, that that they are looking for the service that I provide and that we're well matched. If I feel like, if we both feel like we're well matched, then we'll schedule a session. And this is the tricky part because I'm not seeing clients in person right now. So so I'm just going to talk about a virtual session, of course. So virtual sessions will be, we'll get on usually 60 to 90 minutes. That's like a good length for a Zoom call. But we're both in a comfy place. Like usually I will be on like sort of half reclining on my couch, or and I encourage my client to be in a comfy place, wearing soft, comfy clothing, and have, maybe a teddy bear or a stuffed animal of some kind, or lay a nice cozy blanket. And we'll talk about what are the things that you like to do, to what makes you feel comfortable and cozy. And have those things available to you when we have our session. And then we'll have we'll have some time to check in, just to have a chat. What's alive today? What's on top today? How are you? And then we'll talk about what is it that you would like to experience. Maybe you want to have maybe we do want to laugh, maybe we don't want to laugh, maybe you want story time, and I have a collection of children's books and I'll read a story. Or maybe, it's just watching, doing mirror exercises where we can experience one another, like where we each stroke our face, and it seems like someone else is doing that. Maybe we'll do some virtual eye gazing. And then at the end, a little bit of a closing ritual. I do like to start my sessions with maybe some breath work or some a little short meditation, something to just really get present, relaxed. Because we can get, we can come into a, I don't know about y'all, but my life is a little busy. And so like running around and doing thing one, thing two, thing three. And then, oh yeah, I got to get to my cuddle session. Okay, I'm here. No, okay, now let's a breath. Let's calm down. Let's be here.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You have a very calm voice too, Grace. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What about people who say you can't do cuddle session virtually? There's no point because you can't touch them.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. It's not the same, but it's something, right?
It's not the same, but what it does provide us is a sense of connection. When I'm meeting with my groups, I don't call it a cuddle group. They're called Graceful Cuddle because that's my business, Graceful Cuddle. But it's called a Graceful Cuddle Connection Workshop. So it's about connecting with people in deeper ways, in more caring ways, not just surface, oh, hi, how are you? But really, how are you? Who are you? And how can we connect with one another and boost our oxytocin and be present so that we can leave the workshop or the session feeling more relaxed, more happy, more content, more connected in the world.
Yeah, and I want to call out for the people who can't see you right now, Grace, some of the things you're doing that are making me feel connected with you right now, because you're leaning forward. We're watching you on Zoom. You are looking your eyes right into the camera so that I can look into your eyes, and you're using your hands in the video frame. So it's all of those things when you're virtual help you connect with the other person, and you're doing all of those fabulously. So I just wanted to say you're great, and I think a virtual session with you would be really useful.
Oh, thank you, Mary. That's so lovely of you to say. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So something that I'm wondering, and I'm sure all of our nurtured nerds are wondering that are listening or watching right now, which is, what are you a nerd about? What's the nerdiest thing about you?
Yeah.
See, I have something that I could say, but I actually want to know, I think I might know, but I want to hear it from you.
Well, I will say what I'm a nerd about, and then I would be very curious to hear what you think I'm a nerd about.
Awesome. I'm down.
Aside from children's books, no. I'm a nerd about how our brains work.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking.
About how our brains work, about communication. So that's why I studied neurolinguistic programming. And I'm a nerd about self-growth and self-care. And not just get a mani-pedi or take a daily walk, but really getting to know yourself in all the parts of you, the conscious and the unconscious parts of you, and taking good care of all of that. And communication. I'm a nerd about communication.
I'm a nerd about all those things too. And I think that's what draws us to this work is this is the physical embodiment, even if it's just virtual, us doing this work is the embodiment of knowing of those things and incorporating them into our life. And that to me is how I learn and actually integrate that knowledge is I get to use it with myself and with clients. So I'm really glad that your answer is different than what I thought, because that was so good. I was gonna say you're a nerd about Hawaii and Hawaiian culture and music and you've started learning to play the ukulele and you've done hula dance classes and
I am a nerd about Hawaii and Hawaiian culture and Hawaiian spirituality too.
Yes.
Really fascinating to me.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So I'm learning ukulele and I've been dancing hula since about 2010. I'm not good by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not good, but I just really love it,
That's what matters. Yeah, if you're having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Grace, we're getting to the end. Is there anything else that you want to say or share? Maybe tell us about your events coming up or something that we didn't get to.
Oh, well, sure. I do have, as I mentioned, Graceful Cuddle connection workshops that are available online via Zoom. You can find them on Eventbrite, and you can find, they're also listed on Meetup on the Cuddle Sanctuary Meetup site. And
it's all virtual right now, so anybody can come, right?
exactly, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I love saying that I lead virtual cuddle or international virtual cuddle groups, because I've got folks from all over the country and all over the world who come and join, and it's very
That's awesome.
We've got Joe from Australia.
Yeah.
It's like the most extreme, I think, in terms of time zone difference.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I've got that. If people want to reach out to me via or to find out about a one-on-one session, I'm certainly open to that. And they can find me on Cuddlist. It's www.cuddlist.com/grace. And they can also find me on cuddlesanctuary.com.
Mm.
And I like, yeah, I'm going to stop talking.
Okay.
Are there other questions? I don't know.
I don't know.
Just thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I'm sure that well, you're just, I don't know. I was really excited to meet you the first time I met you, but it was in person. But I'm just saying, like, I'm really glad you're here and that other people get to meet you and get to know you. Even if they don't schedule a session with you, just like to know that you're here and that we get to put names and faces to this work that we're doing and say, like, these are the people who are out here offering this. Yeah, it means a lot.
Thank you.
So thank you
very much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, and we'd love for you to stay for the rest of the show if you want to. If you have to leave, like, it's up to you.
No, I'll stick around.
You're welcome.
Great. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's see, Alyssa. What else should we really talk about right now? I know we need a nerdy thing. What's your nerdy thing this week?
Okay. So this totally goes with Grace's nerdiness and mine that we're just discussing. Is like this book, The Body Keeps the Score. I've been reading it, pretty close to finishing it. It's yeah, like it's just been extremely validating for me. And just inspired.
It's a big.
My chair is broken and it like keeps falling. Like now my microphone is tangled. It's like Murphy's Law right now. Okay, so it's just been really validating to me to understand more about how my body works and my mind works, and like, oh, like, because I'm starting to like get out of it, but like I'd gotten so into the story with my chronic health conditions of like I'm broken, and it's just like, no, like this is something that happens to everyone. Like it's been studied and researched. Like there's all these patients dealing with trauma, and like our bodies just store all of this and they like try to protect us so hard. And so it's been really helping me in what I said earlier of like learning to be compassionate with myself and be accepting. And I've noticed that like when I'm just surrendering to what's so, that's where my power unlocks. That I get to be in this space of like my circumstances don't trap me, that I get to like, that there's this sort of unfolding and this growth that wouldn't occur without my circumstances, and that I get to experience all this richness and this awesomeness through exploring what's there for me in my body and my mind, my psyche, and that allows me to show up in a way for myself and for other people that I wouldn't otherwise if I didn't have these circumstances. And so just learn to be like, have gratitude and just be like really adventurous and playful of like, ooh, like what is here, and just going on this journey of exploring and getting to share that with you, with everyone in my professional community, and the rest of my life too. Yeah, so that's like, that's my nerdiness, like really is like these two communities are bringing together through Nurtured Nerds, like game, like video games, role playing, adventure, fantasy, sci-fi, like all of this. And then like all of this stuff, the work that we do, I'm really nerdy about it too. So I feel like I have this dream job where I get to just fully be about and live about and talk about and explore this world. And that's why I'm so excited to share it with nerds, with gamer nerds. And just like merge these two worlds together at least a little bit. So that's my nerdy thing.
Cool. Yeah, we
What about you?
We did The Body Keeps the Score in one of our book club meetings at my work, and unfortunately I really didn't get to read it, but our discussion was really good about how your body really knows what you've been through. But I also loved what you said, like that doesn't define you, and that's just one of your experiences, and you can take away from it what you want to take. And yeah. Yeah, it's a lot to think about. It's a big, thick book, like a textbook, and I do want to get to it, but it's a little daunting for me right now.
Well, speaking of that, the raid we're doing right now, Jerk Proof Your Relationships, that is a really good way to start getting into these things in bite-sized portions, the way that the modules are set up. It's, 5-minute video, 10-minute, 15-minute, like just really small snippets of like, just boiled down all this wisdom that Cassandra Brown, the creator, has learned through her decades of practice and growth and learning. Boil it down to like bite size and really just powerful. Like this is what you can use in your life right now. It's going to really transform how you connect with yourself and with other people.
Yeah. I do have a nerdy thing. Actually, I have two Cuddle nerdy things. I don't know if you guys can see my t-shirt, but it says Utah Cuddle Club. And then underneath it says, official oxytocin dealer. First hug free.
I love it. That's awesome.
And this is one of my oldest first t-shirts that I had made, so it's kind of faded now. But I also kind of wanted to share this other nerdy thing. These are some pants that I bought, and I'm showing them to you, but they're velour and they're soft.
They're cuddle pants.
They're cuddle pants. And so they're on sale online at this brand called womanwithin.com. And if you look up velour crop pants, they're $10. I bought some in every color. Anyway, so that was my nerdy
thing. I pulled up that website. I'm going to look at that later.
I'm pulling them up right now.
Yeah,
because I've been needing some new pants. I need new pants. Like my pants are getting holes, and I'm just like, I want to be comfortable. So that's perfect.
They're crops, but they're really comfy for cuddling. I actually like that they're crops for cuddling. So, but they're so soft.
Crops like the like shin height. Is that what you mean? Or
yeah, like half calf.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So they're nice and cool for like warmer weather.
Isn't half calf is what I drink my coffee.
Half calf. That's right. But I thought you guys might really, Alyssa and Grace, I thought especially might appreciate that for $9.99. It's a great deal, and they're so soft and lovely.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my nerdy thing. I bought way too many of them because they were on sale. I'm like, I'm going to be cuddling more. I know it. So, yep, I'm a nerd.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like, if you prepare as if you're going to have the future that you want to have, then it will manifest, right?
That's right. So I got my cuddle shirt and I got my cuddle pants. I'm ready.
Yeah, that's why I've been so excited, like just building up my session space.
Yeah. Oh, and I do have a cuddle of the week position for you guys.
Awesome.
This is one of my favorite positions that I always have to like remind people of, because once you hear about it, you're like, oh yeah, that's obvious, but then you don't think of it. So I call it the sitting hug, and it's a variation on the yab yum position, which is actually a sexual position out of the Kama Sutra, which you usually have the masculine person on the bottom and the feminine on top. And for the sitting hug, you're both going to have your butts on the floor. So the bigger person doesn't necessarily have to be the man. I know some of you can't see me, but I am a woman of size. And so I usually sit on the bottom. But you put your legs out sideways so your knees are on the floor. So there's like a space between your legs. And then the other person puts their butt there. And then they will put their legs over the top of your thighs. And then you can fully engage like all your chakras all the way down and have a hug and in a sitting hug. So you're not standing up. And it's actually super relaxing. You can hold it for a really long time. And I love having the chakras engaged all the way up and down. You could sit on top of their lap, or you could have your butts on the floor. There's a lot of ways to do the variation of it, but the sitting hug, I think, is an under-recognized cuddle position. So
yeah, it's basically like you're both sitting cross-legged, but you're like facing each other and you're like as close as possible. So your torsos are like together. And so that's why the legs have to go around.
Yeah, so the smaller person will have their legs up over the top of the bigger person's thighs. Yeah. So then you can be right next to each other.
And you can use pillows to help with that, like if there's a height difference or if like your legs don't fit together quite right. Like there's ways you can support.
Yeah, or you could put your legs out straight and they could just sit on top of your lap. That works too. And I know we were talking about this earlier. Was it Alyssa? You were telling me about like when you were a child, right?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I have done this cuddle position in-person session before, and it is one of my favorites because of this. Like for me, it really taps into a very visceral, positive childhood experience with how my mom would hold me. Like if she was carrying me when I was younger and I had my arms wrapped around like her above her shoulders and my legs like wrapped around her torso and just feel very secure and like held and loved and carried. And so this is like an adult version of that where it's like, because I don't expect someone to be able to hold all of my weight, like hold me up, but like if we're both sitting down, then we both can just relax into that feeling of the touch and the closeness and the alignment.
Yeah,
it's a very yummy position. Yab yum.
Yes, yummy. Yab yum.
What I'm appreciating, like for the person that's seated, like on the underneath, I guess.
The masculine position usually.
Like the person who's the foundation.
The foundation.
Like basically they're sitting in butterfly position. If you're familiar with yoga at all, with their legs in that butterfly position, that sort of diamond shape.
Makes a diamond,
which is a really good hip opener. And speaking of, like, a lot of our emotions get stuck, especially for women, a lot of our emotions get stuck in our hips. So having the opportunity to do hip openers, and you can't see me, but I'm like stretching my
your leg
up and my leg up, and like having those kinds of positions to cuddle in, like you're opening up the release of emotion, as well as and that's a beautiful way to connect too, like my story with the client earlier, that release of emotion was connecting for both of us.
So the sitting hug, definitely one of my favorites. So many reasons to love it.
So we're pretty close to the end here. Is there anything else that we're wanting to say before we give a quick, like, just a quick little explanation of the project, of like how people can connect with us? Like, is there anything else before we move into that?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, everybody that's listening, for coming to be with us today. Even over time, I want to thank everyone. So.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
And I want to thank you all for inviting me to be a guest, and for the people who are here, who are listening and working behind the scenes. And it's been such a delightful experience. Thank you.
Wonderful. Good.
You're welcome.
Yes, you are welcome. Alyssa, do you want to tell us about Nurture Nerds and everything that we're doing and how to find it?
Yeah. So we'll put all the links to this in the description. Make sure you guys can connect with us if that's something you are interested in. So you don't have to be a video game nerd to join Nurtured Nerds. That's just what it's geared towards, is like translating the language of cuddle therapy into like role play, nerdy, gamey language. But everyone's a nerd about something, you know,
Right.
and we're all welcome here. This is just about creating tools and opportunities and empowerment and access around connection and touch, safe touch. So I just wanted to preface with that. Right now we have our website, nurturednerds.com. We have this podcast, which will be on our YouTube channel, Nurtured Nerds, along with some other videos that will be free, and some that'll be part of our premium content. That's something we're adding soon. We're going to have either Patreon or something similar, to give members a chance to contribute. Right now, membership is totally free, but we'll have higher tiers soon of membership where you can contribute to growing the project, to adding things to the project, to support us, or even become one of us, like
Oh,
to
yes,
directly
please.
contribute. Like, please join us for that if you would like. Our project team is called the Nurtured Nerds Epic Quest Committee because we are about discovering and creating together what our epic quest will be in the future, that we're taking together. Connect with us also on our subreddit, Nurtured Nerds, our Facebook community page, and we have just a project page for general announcements on Facebook as well. Anything I missed?
That sounds pretty good to me. There's
All
so much
right.
going on.
Our raid, Jerkproof Your Relationships, CassandraBrown.org.
Yeah.
/Jerkproof Your Relationships.
Mhm.
Wonderful content. Really looking forward to connecting with our community about what we're getting out of that. You can join at any time. It doesn't matter, even if it's one day before the end. Like, it's just about like getting access to this content and engaging with it and having a community where you can connect about what's there for you and learn about what's there
Yeah.
for others. So
And she's got a long-term program going on with the Jerkproof Your Relationships. There's people
yes.
that have been in the class for a couple years that still come to the coachings, and they're still working on the content.
Yeah.
It's not something you're gonna get in like 15 minutes, you know. It's something you watch and you work on, and then you come back to it. Yeah, it's a good class. I'm
Definitely
there,
ongoing.
so yeah.
And I was one of the first members of the first class, and I'm still here, and like she's still adding stuff, and you get lifetime access to this and to this community. So it's just really great. So I'm looking forward to more people connecting with that.
Yep, that'll be good. All right. Well, I think we are nurtured for today. I'm feeling nurtured.
Me too.
I do
Self
too.
hug time.
Self hug. Yep. Wrap your
Self-hug.
arms around yourself, and here we are. We're sharing a hug.
Thank
What
you
I
for
like
joining
to
us.
say is when you are hugging yourself, remember that like when you're hugging somebody else, like part of that hug is the good feelings that you're thinking and feeling about that other person. So when you're hugging yourself, remember that. Remember to think good thoughts about the person you're hugging, which is
Nice.
you.
Yes.
Good reminder. Thank you, Grace.
Thanks, Grace. Yes, I need that. Oh, okay.
Think of it like a mirror, and you're like reflecting back to yourself of like what you give out to others when you love them.
Yes. Yes. Can absolutely do that for ourselves.
Okay, thank you for joining us, everybody. That's it for today.
Yep, that's it. Okay, have a good day.
Bye.
All right, bye.